I really wanted to do that, and again, being a gamer and getting caught up in the thing, I just loved it. You know, so I burned through a bunch of different characters. Oh, I'm gonna have to use one of these in the book. That's an excuse. There's a new character, and like I say, just had great fun with it. And it really, in the writing process for the book, that really did make a difference. Just knowing how a character would react within the game gave me a lot of feedback on how to shape these characters and what their experiences and backgrounds would have been.
It's really important for us that these books feel like they're rooted in the game world. So obviously Michael was great to work with. Chrissy, very, very active player, very engaged in the game, really understands the characters in the world, and it just makes for much better novels. Very, very good.
So Dave, let's talk a little bit about story in the game. And that dial that you're constantly adjusting. How much story is too much story in the game, do you think?
It's very, very tricky. There's if you ever get a chance to visit the Blizzard campus, there's a statue out front. There's a bronze plaque, and the plaque says "Gameplay First." And next to that plaque is a gigantic orc on a wolf with a big axe. So you don't want to make the orc angry. So really, all of our storytelling really has to focus on just the gameplay. It's certainly in the game. You have to be active and engaged, and just in the act of playing the game, understand the story. That's tricky. I think we're getting better at it. I think we'll get better with every expansion. How do you guys like Pandaria so far? So quick survey. How many people will actually stop and read the quest text? Okay, you don't reflect the average, I don't think. You guys are a little bit more hardcore. Now, how many people, and it's okay, it's totally fine, just blast through. You just want to play, you don't read the quest text. Yeah, okay. So that is a totally valid way to play the game. And honestly, I think most people do play the game that way. So the real trick is, how do we tell the story in such a way that when you're not paying any attention to the story, you're just immersed by it, you're surrounded by it, so that even if you're not reading the quest, even if you're not really listening to the NPCs, when you get to the end of the zone, I say, well, what happened? Even if you weren't paying attention, you're like, oh, this happened, and then these guys came, and I did this, and I caused this to happen. Then we know we've done a really good job with the story. So it's tricky. I think we did a pretty good job with Pandaria, and I think we can only keep getting better at it.
Yeah, and that's a dial that we're always adjusting to for publishing, because we don't want people to feel like, oh, I had to go out and I had to buy the book and I had to read the book in order to understand what was going on in the game. So that's the same kind of thing for us. We're experimenting, we're trying new things, and we're figuring things out as we go, and we're always learning, which is great. So we have another announcement. Well, hold on. Before the announcement, I want to talk really quick about StarCraft II Flashpoint. So this is coming out November 6th. If you guys want to take a look at it, it is at the Simon & Schuster booth, which is 829. You can stop by there, you can check it out. It's written by Christy Golden. Do we have any Christy Golden fans out there? We love Christy, and we try to keep her busy, so she's doing this for us, and she does a great job. For all the StarCraft players out there, do we have any StarCraft players? So for all the StarCraft people out there, you know that Raynor and Kerrigan are kind of the backbone of the StarCraft franchise. So this book really gets into their relationship, how that started through flashbacks. We're going to see how that all came about. Plus, so it's an A-B storyline, so the other storyline is going to bridge right at the end. I mean, it starts literally at the end of Wings of Liberty, and then it's going to bridge up to Heart of the Swarm, which is coming out in the not-too-distant future. All right, another announcement. For the first time, here we are announcing, where's Dave? Do we have a cover for this one? No? Okay, that's fine. So we are announcing Diablo 3, Heroes Rise, Darkness Falls. This is an anthology of short stories, class-themed, and it's going to have what we call expanded universe stories as well. So do we have Diablo players out there? Awesome. So this is the book for you. This is going to be an ebook. and this is going to be released November 27th, 2012. And actually, Michael, I wanted to talk about something real quick. We were having lunch, and you were talking about when you get into a new IP, there are certain kind of things you have to look for. You defined exactly what those things were. You were talking about Star Wars and getting into that and the BattleTech and things like that. Could you just touch on that really quick again?
Sure. Just when you're looking at anybody's universe, there were certain hallmarks of a story. For example, to use Star Wars as an example, there's humor, there's suspense, there's romance, there's action. There's a little bit of mysticism. There's flashy technology. So you sort of identify and you break down any of these properties into the things that you need to have for it to be a story which is set in that universe. And then you try and make sure that whatever story you're telling hits on all of those things. And also, as somebody who is looking for writers, work with IPs, you start looking for writers that can in fact address and they already know how to do all those skills. You don't want to have to teach a writer to have to do all that sort of stuff. But that's I think when you get writers who are capable of doing that and they're willing to do the research, to just tuck themselves straight into the universe, then you get some really good stories because they'll sit there and say, okay, I know what the surface is, which is a lot of games. You only get surface because you're not really able to go into the brains of the non-player characters. As much as you see Vol'jin in World of Warcraft, you're not able to go into a lot of depth and find things out. But as a novelist, I can sit there and say, okay, if this is what I see in the surface, then this is probably what's going on behind the scenes. The other thing we were talking about is that things that novels can do that games can't, at least right now, is, games can't do, hot, they can't do cold, they can't do smells. They can't do a lot of, they can do some emotional content, and some of the storylines you guys have got, tug at the heartstrings, but it's a lot easier to get that depth when you're doing the characterization.
Yeah, you can't really get inside a character's head in the game, and honestly, you really shouldn't spend a lot of time trying to get inside a character's head in the game, because again, gameplay first, you don't want to piss off the orc. So it's important for us that the game kind of always keeps moving forward. So those reflective moments, those really internal struggles, that's when you can go to a novel. That's the strength of that medium that the games can't do.
And I've read the first draft of the manuscript, and Michael really hit it. So you guys are going to be very, very happy with the result. Okay, so we have another announcement. First time announcement here. We have another World of Warcraft book, and this one's a little bit different. This is going to be ebook again. It's a four-part novel. This is going to be ebook only, and this is by Richard Knack. Do we have any Richard Knack fans out there? Good, okay. And this is Dawn of the Aspects. So for those of you who read Twilight of the Aspects and you're caught up on what's going on with the dragon aspects, they have lost the majority of their powers at this point. They are mortal, they can die, so they're going through a really big change right now. And this book is going to deal with that, and part of the way we're going to deal with that is by going back and looking at the dragon aspects before they were aspects. Not only that, before they were dragons. We're going to go back to when they were proto-dragons. And we're going to get into some crazy stuff. With them, you think, okay, proto-dragons, what possibly could be going on? They're hunting for food, and that's about it. Galakrond is out there, and he's a big baddie, and he's going after them, and there's undead dragons and all kinds of cool stuff. And nobody writes dragons like Richard Knack, so that's exciting.
We're delving way back in the history of Azeroth with this. It's going turning up the Wayback Machine and really seeing how the world was as it was being kind of shaped and formed in the Azeroth we know.
And you guys have seen proto-dragons in the game, but actually seeing them back then and what was going on. It's an area of the history that we really haven't touched on that much. And seeing the aspects and their personalities and what they were like before, they are different than they were before, so it's really cool. So the first part of that is coming out January 15th, 2013. So now I think we're ready for Q&A. We don't have a mic, I was told, for Q&A, so we're going to steal this mic here, and Dave is going to have people line up, and we're going to field some questions. While we're doing that, I'll tell you guys a story about last night, because Michael is obviously a fantastic author, but also this man can eat like you have never seen. So we were at Times Square. I don't know if you guys have gone there and done that. They have this thing at Times Square called the Beast, and it's this giant burger, and instead of a bun on top and a bun on bottom, it's actually grilled cheese sandwiches that make the buns for this thing, and it's about that high, and it comes out in a cage, and they take the cage off, and then it's got a pile of French fries on top of that. And if you eat this thing, do you get the meal for free? If you eat it? You get a t-shirt. And Michael was the only person, we had 3 people try this at the table. Michael was the only person who actually finished it.
As much as I'm proud of that feat, I should note that mentally what I did is I said, I've pre-purchased a $20 t-shirt. They have given me free food. I am an author and I am obliged by contract to consume all free food. Therefore, there was no question but what I would succeed.
All right, and we're ready for questions. The only thing I ask is game mechanics questions. This is not the forum for game mechanics questions. Other than that, story questions, lore, etc. That's it.
This is specifically about the books. Because the books so far have all dealt with like the major characters, the leaders, the dragons. If you could, and if commercial concerns were completely out the window, what would you most love to be able to write a novel or commission a novel about that you know you absolutely couldn't? If it were like Murlocs or the Life and Times of Millhouse Manastorm, just whatever, what would you just love to have been able to commission?
Yeah, personally, I always loved stories of just how common people in the world, like just, you know, dwarf adventurers or a weekend at the Dark Moon Fair, like that kind of stuff would be really, really cool to do. It's hard to imagine that on a shelf or on the New York Times bestseller list, but we always, I love little stories like that. Wish we had, you know, opportunities to really flesh that out. One thing we're going to be doing, and I don't know if this is another announcement or not, all the factions that are in Pandaria, we're writing short stories about those particular factions that we're going to put, thank you. And we're going to, that'll be a web exclusive, we're going to put those on the web, but they really kind of get into day-to-day life in Pandaria, or what really makes them tick, like how does someone get initiated into the Shadowpan? It's a really cool story. What's it like to be in the Order of the Cloud Serpent, raising your own Cloud Serpent, that kind of stuff. And so we kind of scratch that itch a little bit with those stories. Those will be on the web. So that was a great question.
The other thing to check out is the Alliance and Horde graphic novels, which I know we announced, I think, years ago at this point. They are coming, and they're gorgeous, and they're fantastic stories, and it's really just about your common Horde and Alliance classes and players and what they're going through, so keep an eye